Imagine moving into a new place, seeking a fresh start, only to find yourself tangled in the haunting mysteries of its past. What would you do if strange whispers crept through the walls at night? What if a shadowy figure appeared, silently pleading with you to uncover a truth long buried? This isn't just a story about an old apartment. It's a chilling dive into secrets that refuse to stay hidden. In this video, you'll discover the eerie events that begin to unfold the moment I step through that door, and why facing the unknown might be my only way out. Ready to explore the darkness with me? As I stood in front of the old apartment building, a wave of anticipation washed over me. It was a gray afternoon in Brooklyn, and the sky was heavy with clouds that threatened rain. The building loomed before me, its weathered bricks and peeling paint telling stories of days long gone. I took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of hope and unease as I stepped through the creaking front door. This was my fresh start, a chance to leave behind the chaos of my past and carve out a new life in this bustling city. "Welcome to 384 Maple Street," chirped a voice from behind me. I turned to see an elderly woman with a warm smile. Her silver hair was tied back in a neat bun, and her bright floral dress stood out against the somber backdrop of the building. "Hi, I'm Sam. Just moved in," I replied, forcing a smile despite the shiver that traced my spine. "Ah, the new tenant. You'll love it here," she said, her eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "Just mind the quirks of this old place. She has her own personality, you know." "Quirks?" I asked, chuckling nervously. "Like what?" "Oh, you'll see. Just don't take it too seriously. This building has seen a lot of life and a bit of death," she added, her expression suddenly serious. It sent a chill through me, but I brushed it off. "Thanks for the warning," I said, waving goodbye as I stepped into the dimly lit hallway. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and dust. I could hear the faint creaking of the floorboards beneath my feet, almost as if the building was alive, whispering secrets of its past. After retrieving my keys and dragging my suitcase up the narrow staircase, I finally arrived at my new apartment. The door opened with a reluctant creak, revealing a small space filled with sunlight filtering through the grimy windows. I dropped my bag onto the worn wooden floor and took in the sight before me. The walls were painted a faded beige, and a single ceiling fan spun lazily above. "Welcome home," I murmured to myself, a grin spreading across my face. I could already envision how I would personalize the space, filling it with plants and photos that would transform it into a sanctuary. As night fell, I settled onto my bed, exhaustion washing over me. I turned off the lights, but the darkness that enveloped me felt thick and suffocating. I closed my eyes, hoping to drift into a peaceful sleep, but my mind was restless. Strange sounds began to echo through the walls. At first I dismissed them as the usual creaks and groans of an old building settling, but then I heard faint whispers, soft, indistinct murmurs that sent a shiver down my spine. I sat up, straining to listen, my heart pounding in my chest. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice trembling slightly. The whispers faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. I shook my head, trying to shake off the unease. It was just my imagination, I told myself. This was a new beginning, and I wouldn't let fear dictate my life. I turned over, attempting to find comfort in sleep, but visions danced in my mind. Shadows flickered, and I could almost make out the outline of a woman, her face obscured. She seemed to be reaching out to me, her lips moving in a silent plea. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat, my heart racing. It was just a dream, I reassured myself, but the feeling of dread lingered. The next morning, I stumbled into the mailroom, hoping the routine would ground me. As I rifled through the mail, something caught my eye. A yellowed newspaper clipping tucked away in the corner. Curiosity piqued, I pulled it out and read the headline, "Mysterious Disappearance Shocks Residents of 384 Maple Street." My heart sank as I scanned the article, detailing the disappearance of a young woman decades ago. My fingers trembled as I tucked the clipping into my pocket, an inexplicable pull drawing me toward the story. Who was she? And why did I feel a connection to her? With a sense of unease settling in my stomach, I left the mailroom, a heavy weight resting on my chest. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a dark journey that would unravel the secrets of the building and my own past, intertwining our fates in ways I could never have imagined. The whispers had become almost deafening. Each night, they crept under my skin, filling me with a sense of urgency I couldn't quite place. I could hear them clearly now, a chorus of disembodied voices mingling in a dissonant melody that left me restless and on edge. It was on the 4th night since I moved in that the visions began. I lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the peeling paint on the ceiling. The shadows danced and twisted, and suddenly I saw her. A woman, her features obscured by darkness, yet I could feel her distress penetrating through the void. She stared at me, her mouth moving silently, but I could hear her plea echoing in my mind, "Find the truth." I sat up abruptly, my heart racing. "Who are you?" I whispered into the stillness, hoping for an answer. But the vision faded, leaving only the persistent whispers surrounding me. I rubbed my eyes, trying to dispel the lingering image of her face. What truth was she talking about? The next day, I immersed myself in the building's history, driven by an inexplicable need to uncover the mystery. I scoured the internet and combed through old records at the local library, piecing together fragments of a long-buried past. It was there that I learned of the tragic fire that had consumed the building decades ago. "Do you know what happened during the fire?" I asked the librarian, a kind older woman with glasses perched on the tip of her nose. She looked up, her expression solemn. "It was a terrible tragedy. Many lives were lost, and no one really knows the full extent of it. Some say there were strange occurrences leading up to it, sightings, unusual noises. It's as if the building itself was a living entity." I nodded, feeling a chill creep down my spine. "Did anyone survive?" "Only a few, but they moved away soon after. They never spoke about it." Her words hung heavy in the air. I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman from my vision was connected to all of this. I needed to know more. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt a pull, an almost magnetic force drawing me towards the hallway. I ventured out, the dim light from the single bulb flickering above me. My heart raced as I approached the end of the corridor, where a door stood slightly ajar. I felt a strange energy radiating from it, like an echo of sorrow trapped within the walls. "Just look inside," I told myself, fighting the growing dread in my chest. "Maybe you'll find some answers." As I pushed the door open, the hinges creaked, revealing a narrow space cloaked in shadows. The air was thick with dust, and I felt as if I had stepped into a forgotten world. Old furniture lay scattered about, covered in sheets, as if waiting for someone to return. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling in the stillness. No response. Then I saw it, a mirror hanging crookedly on the wall, dust obscuring its surface. I reached out, wiping it clean with my sleeve. My reflection stared back at me, but behind me in the glass, I caught a glimpse of her, the woman from my visions. This time, she was clearer, her face etched with sorrow and longing. "Please," she mouthed, pointing towards the back of the room. I turned around, and there it was, a glint of something hidden beneath a pile of old boxes. My heart pounded as I approached, my hands trembling with anticipation. I uncovered a small, ornate box. It felt warm to the touch, as if it had been waiting for me. With bated breath, I opened the box. Inside, I found a locket, delicate and beautiful. I held it up, and as I opened it, I gasped. There, nestled inside, was a photo of the woman alongside a child, their faces glowing with happiness. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. But before I could process the revelation, the air shifted around me. The whispers intensified, swirling like a tempest. I felt the room close in, and in that moment I understood. I had uncovered something deep, something that could change everything. The woman's presence enveloped me, a sense of urgency igniting within me. "Find the truth," I murmured again, feeling the weight of her unfulfilled plea. I needed to understand her story, her pain, and how it intertwined with my own. As the shadows deepened around me, I realized I was no longer just a tenant in this building. I was part of its haunting legacy, and I had to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. As I stood before the door, at the end of the dimly lit hallway, an unsettling energy pulsed from it, like a heartbeat echoing through the silence. The air around me thickened, heavy with dread. I took a step closer, my heart racing. What was I doing? I had already felt the weight of the supernatural in this building, the whispers, the visions of the woman in shadows. Yet an inexplicable pull urged me forward, as if the door itself was beckoning me to uncover its secrets. Just a quick peek, I muttered under my breath, trying to muster some semblance of courage. But the moment my hand brushed against the cold, tarnished doorknob, a shiver ran down my spine. I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to turn back. What if something terrible lay beyond? The woman from my visions, was she waiting for me behind this door? Was she a guardian or something far more sinister? Come on, Sam, you can't let fear rule you, I whispered to myself, taking a deep breath. With a firm grip, I twisted the knob and pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, the sound echoing unnervingly in the narrow hallway. As the door swung wide, I was met with a cloud of dust that danced in the weak light filtering through the grimy window. Inside was a dusty storage room, filled with forgotten belongings covered in white sheets, like ghosts of the past hiding in plain sight. My gaze swept across the room, landing on a small wooden chest in the corner. A wave of curiosity washed over me, overriding the fear that still gnawed at the edges of my mind. I stepped further inside, each creak of the floorboards beneath my feet amplifying my sense of isolation. I moved toward the chest, brushing my fingers over its weathered surface. "What secrets do you hold?" I murmured, opening the lid with a slight struggle. Inside, a collection of old photographs and trinkets lay scattered, but one item caught my eye. A leather-bound diary, its cover cracked with age. I lifted it carefully, feeling a strange connection to the object, as if it had been waiting for someone to uncover its story. Sitting on the floor, I opened the diary, the pages yellowed and fragile. The handwriting was elegant yet hurried, filled with emotion that seemed to leap off the page. As I read, the words began to weave a tale of loss and heartache. The author spoke of a life filled with dreams, shadowed by betrayal and the night of the fire that had forever altered everything. "Why did you have to leave me?" I whispered aloud, feeling the weight of her sorrow. I turned the pages feverishly, the details becoming more vivid. She wrote about a love that turned to ashes, about friends who became foes, and the desperation that filled her heart the night the flames engulfed everything she held dear. "Who were you?" I asked, no one in particular, my voice trembling. The woman's life unfolded before me like a tragic play, each entry more haunting than the last. She described the night of the fire, her fear palpable as she sought escape, yet felt trapped by the very walls that had once sheltered her. "Please, if you're out there, I need to know the truth," I murmured, sensing the ghostly presence of the woman surrounding me. The diary hinted at a betrayal, but the specifics remained shrouded in mystery. It was then that I realized I wasn't just reading about a tragedy, I was entwined in it. This woman, whose life was cut short, was reaching out to me, hoping I would uncover the truth that had been buried beneath the ashes for far too long. Suddenly, the air grew colder, and I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. A whisper echoed in the air, barely audible but unmistakably clear. "Find me." The voice was soft, almost pleading. I looked around the room, my heart racing. Was it her? Was she guiding me? "Okay, I will," I promised, my voice steadying as determination replaced fear. The woman had been wronged, and I was now a part of her story. I had to see this through. Whatever it took, I would unravel the secrets of this building and seek justice for a life that was stolen away. A life that somehow felt connected to my own. The air in my apartment was thick with an unsettling tension as the days wore on. Each night, the ghostly figure of the woman appeared with increasing urgency, her translucent form flickering in and out of existence, like a dying light bulb. I could feel her pain resonate within me, a haunting echo of my own unresolved issues and lost connections. I found myself waking up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, the whispers wrapping around me like a cold blanket, urging me to find the truth. One evening, unable to bear the weight of my confusion any longer, I decided to seek help. I grabbed my jacket and headed out into the dimly lit streets of Brooklyn, my heart racing with a mix of fear and determination. The local historian's tiny office was tucked away in a forgotten corner of the neighborhood, filled with dusty books and old photographs. When I entered, the musty smell of aged paper hit me like a wave. "Can I help you?" the historian asked, peering over his glasses, his eyes narrowing with curiosity. "I live in the old apartment building on Hawthorne Street," I began, my voice shaky. "I've been experiencing some unusual occurrences. I think there's a connection to a woman who died in a fire there." His expression shifted, the corners of his mouth tightening. Ah, yes. The Hawthorne building has quite the reputation. Many residents have disappeared without a trace over the years. What exactly are you looking for? I need to know what happened to her, I said, desperation creeping into my voice. She keeps appearing to me, and I feel like I'm connected to her somehow. The historian leaned back in his chair, contemplating. The fire was a tragic event. Many lives were lost, and the details surrounding it are shrouded in mystery. The building has had its share of sorrow and darkness. Is there anyone who can tell me more? I pressed, my heart pounding as I imagined the answers that lay buried in the past. He sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. There might be some records at the local archives. You could find information about the residents who lived there, perhaps even about the woman you're seeing. Thank you, I said, feeling a flicker of hope. I'll check it out. As I left his office, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the street. I felt an inexplicable pull to return to my apartment, as if the walls themselves were calling me back. The moment I stepped inside, an icy chill swept through the air, and I shivered, remembering the woman's haunting gaze. That night, I sat cross-legged on the floor, the diary sprawled open before me. The entry I had read previously had sent chills down my spine, but I needed to delve deeper. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows against the walls, and I felt the weight of the room pressing down on me. I flipped through the pages, my heart racing with anticipation. Then, amidst the scrawled notes and frantic handwriting, I found something, a line that made my breath hitch. Look for the date. The truth lies within the ashes. The words jumped out at me, ringing with significance. I scanned the pages for any mention of a date, my heart pounding louder with every passing second. Finally, I found it, a specific date, etched in a shaky hand, April 15th, the night of the fire. My mind raced as I realized how pivotal that night was. Was there something I needed to uncover? A hidden truth that would connect me to this woman? Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped, and I felt the familiar tug of her presence. I glanced up, half expecting to see her standing before me. My heart raced as I whispered, "What do you want me to find?" The air around me grew heavier, and I felt an overwhelming sense of urgency wash over me. The whispers intensified, swirling around me in a cacophony of voices. I closed my eyes, trying to focus on the sensations flooding my mind, the warmth of her spirit mingling with the chill of the room. "Help me," I whispered, unsure of who was speaking, my voice or hers. "I want to understand." The candle flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows across the walls, and for a moment I felt a surge of clarity. I understood that whatever happened that night was tied to me, to my very existence. The pieces were slowly falling into place, but I needed to dig deeper. With resolve swelling within me, I made a silent promise to uncover the truth, to not rest until I understood the connection that bound me to this spectral woman. The fire was not just a tragedy. It was a beginning, a key to unlocking the dark secrets of the past that had been hidden away for far too long. And I was determined to face whatever lay ahead. I stood in the dimly lit hallway of my apartment building, the air thick with anticipation and an unsettling energy. Tonight was the anniversary of the fire, the event that had cast such a long shadow over this place. I had decided to hold a small vigil, hoping to connect with the spirit that had haunted my dreams and visions. It was a last-ditch effort to find some semblance of closure, for her and for myself. I invited a few neighbors, hoping their presence would lend an air of normalcy to the evening. But the truth was, I felt isolated in my quest. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, I lit candles around the small living space, their flickering flames creating dancing shadows on the walls. The whispers that had haunted me for weeks felt more pronounced now, swirling around me like a cold breeze. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Ellie, a neighbor from the third floor, asked, her voice trembling slightly as she arranged her chair. "I mean, messing with spirits, it's not something to take lightly." I glanced at her, my heart racing. "I have to do this, Ellie. I need to understand what happened here. She needs to be heard." The others nodded, some with trepidation and others with curiosity. The atmosphere shifted as the clock struck midnight, the sound echoing ominously in the stillness. The whispers crescendoed, rising to a fever pitch that made my skin crawl. I closed my eyes, focusing on the energy swirling around me. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, and I opened my eyes to see her. The spectral figure of the woman I had been dreaming about. She hovered before us, her face still obscured by shadows, but her presence undeniably powerful. I felt the air thicken, an electric charge coursing through the room. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising wind. "Find the truth." "Who are you?" I asked, my voice steady despite the fear that gripped me. "What happened to you?" The lights flickered violently, and the candles sputtered as if they were about to be snuffed out. The ghostly figure pointed toward the far corner of the room, and I felt an overwhelming urge to follow her gaze. I could sense her desperation, her longing for resolution. "Please," I heard her voice again, clearer this time. "The truth lies where the shadows meet the light." Before I could respond, a violent gust of wind swept through the apartment, knocking over chairs and sending the candles tumbling to the ground. Chaos erupted, and I felt a surge of panic wash over me. "Everyone, stay calm," I shouted, trying to maintain control over the situation. But the energy in the room was becoming chaotic, swirling around us like a storm. I could feel the walls vibrating, the very foundation of the building trembling. The spirit's face twisted in anguish as she faded momentarily, her figure blurring at the edges. "Sam!" Ellie screamed, clutching a chair for support. "What's happening?" "I don't know," I yelled back, my eyes darting around the room, searching for answers. I felt an inexplicable connection to this chaos, as if the spirit were channeling her anguish through me. Just then, her voice cut through the madness. "You must confront the past. You must." "Confront what?" I demanded, desperation creeping into my voice. "What do you want from me?" In that moment, I realized I couldn't run from this anymore. The entity wasn't malevolent. She was a reflection of the pain I had been ignoring within myself. I had to confront not just her spirit but the shadows of my own past that had haunted me for years. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, determined. "Show me," I said, my voice strong and unwavering. "Show me the truth." The room shifted, and the air grew heavier as I felt the spirit pulling me toward the unknown. The chaos around us began to settle, the whispers softening into a haunting melody that resonated deep within me. I was ready to face the darkness, to unearth the secrets buried in this building and within my own heart. The chaos in my apartment reached a fever pitch, the whispers escalating into a cacophony of voices that crashed against the walls. I felt a tug at my consciousness, a force urging me to follow the spectral figure that had haunted my dreams. She floated just ahead of me, her ethereal glow illuminating the shadowy corners of the hallway. I had to know what she wanted. I had to find out what truth she was leading me to. "Wait," I shouted, though I knew she couldn't hear me in the way the living do. But I felt compelled to call out, as if my voice could bridge the gap between our worlds. She paused, glancing back over her shoulder, her eyes, dark and sorrowful, seeming to plead with me. With a swift turn, she led me down the narrow staircase that spiraled into the basement. Each step felt heavier, charged with a sense of dread and anticipation. The air grew colder, wrapping around me like an unwelcome embrace. I reached the bottom and paused, taking in the dimly lit space filled with forgotten relics of the past. The shadows danced, and the whispers shifted into soft murmurs, almost as if the very walls were speaking secrets long hidden. "Where do I go?" I whispered, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. The woman gestured toward a section of the wall, her hand trembling as if trying to touch something just out of reach. I approached, my heart pounding in my chest, and noticed a slight irregularity in the plaster. Unease washed over me, and I hesitated before pressing my palm against the cool surface. With a gentle push, I felt the wall give way, revealing a hidden compartment. Dust billowed into the air as I pried it open, and my breath caught in my throat at the sight within. Nestled inside was a small, ornate locket, tarnished with age but still holding a sense of beauty. My fingers trembled as I lifted it, feeling its weight and the history it carried. I opened the locket, and a wave of memories flooded my mind, visions of a woman with kind eyes and soft laughter holding a child in her arms. I gasped, my heart racing as realization dawned upon me. The child in the locket was me. This woman, this spirit, was not just a stranger. She was my mother. "No," I whispered, the truth hitting me like a freight train. How is this possible? I turned to the ghost, who hovered expectantly, her gaze filled with a mix of hope and longing. You're my mother? In that moment, the energy shifted. The oppressive weight of despair that had clung to her began to lift, replaced by an overwhelming sense of connection. I've searched for you, I choked out, tears brimming in my eyes. I didn't know. I never knew. The locket held a faded photograph, capturing a moment in time when our lives were intertwined. I traced the outline of her face with trembling fingers, feeling as if I were grasping at the remnants of a life I had never truly known. What happened to you? I asked, my voice breaking. She pointed to the locket again, and in her gaze I sensed a story yearning to be told. I could see flashes of the night of the fire, of her frantic attempts to save me, of betrayal and loss. The whispers intensified, echoing her pain. The pain of a mother who had lost everything, who had been trapped in this building, bound by a tragic past. I didn't abandon you, her voice whispered in my mind, a soft caress that soothed my soul. I was taken from you. I've been watching over you, waiting for the day you would find me. The realization struck me like lightning. This building, with its creaky floors and shadowy corners, wasn't just a place of terror. It was a sanctuary, a prison, a connection to the family I never knew. I could feel her love wrapping around me, an anchor in the storm of my life. I'm here now, I promised, my heart swelling with newfound purpose. I won't let your story end in tragedy. I'll find the truth and honor your memory. As I held the locket, the spirit of my mother began to shimmer, her form fading into a gentle glow. I understood then. The entity I had feared was not a malevolent force but a protective spirit, guiding me to reclaim my past and ultimately my identity. I had finally found my way home, not just to this apartment but to the family I had lost and the truth I had been seeking all along.